KUGAN, CASSIUS, IFL TV, MTK Global in Glasgow to announce Josh Taylor's next fight against Kong Song on May the 2nd, featuring on that bill, Mr. Sonny Edwards. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good, thank you. Been a while since I've seen you, KUGAN.
Well, no, I've seen you, but you just said to me that you haven't interviewed me for 3 years. Obviously, that doesn't mean you haven't been on IFL for 3 years. It just means that, I don't know, it can't be 3 years. I'm gonna Google it later.
Nah, it's definitely not 3 years. I just felt like I must have offended you with something I said or done.
You don't offend me, but I think twice about ever tweeting you anything, because you're a little bit of a savage online, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got too much time on my hands. That's the biggest problem, I think. Too much time and not enough keeping me occupied.
So basically, that's a message to get you back in the ring ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I get like a proper fight date and an opponent, not just a fight date. Back in, when you're first starting out in your pro career, that the fight date's enough, to keep you proper like on it. But now you need the opponent as well. You need that. I need that motivation. I'm goal driven. What can I say? But yeah, for me, it's all light-hearted. I mean, people take it really, really seriously and deep-hearted. But for me, all that sort of stuff, it's all tongue-in-cheek. When people take it too serious, I don't really care.
You seem to have got into a little back and forth with someone. We don't know who it is, but it's just someone on Twitter the other day I saw. And yeah, your kind of response to it was, just don't come to me if you're not going to like kind of what's coming back. Is that a fair comment from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, well, apart from maybe like boxing rivals that I'm trying to get in the ring with, I will never just click on someone's profile and think, let me ruin this person's day. But I get obviously hordes and hordes of messages, as so many other boxers do, and where a lot of the other boxers let it get to them or just block them. And I feel like if you meet fire with fire, then it's a bit of fun. And usually what happens is the person that started trying to give you stick ends up blocking you. So it's like, really, I'm getting what I wanted in a roundabout way. And then that's what happened the last however many times. So I've just got, like I said, I've got too much time. So people aren't going to get the last say. And that's probably what terrorizes people more. I'll just keep going and going and going and going and going. Boxers don't really do too much in their day, full-time boxers. Like, even on my busiest days, I'm probably only training for about 3 hours in the day. That's 21 hours unaccounted for. And that's what happens.
Don't you ever write anything and think afterwards, maybe I shouldn't have wrote that back to him?
A lot less than you probably would think. There's been times where I've said stuff without really deep in what I was saying, and I did apologise for that one thing in particular. I'm not even going to repeat it, but that was with the whole Paddy Barnes thing. That was ages ago. But yeah, a lot less than you think, because I just don't care about upsetting like people that don't mean anything to me. A lot of people going, well, one day you're going to say something to the wrong people and get a slap. But I've lived 24 years of existence. No one just comes up to you in your face and tells you this. And bear in mind, I'm the least intimidating person in the world. I'm 5'3". I weigh about 9 stone right now. Like, I'm very, very intimidating. So, and I don't really get people just hurling abuse at me. So, yeah, I think the day that I get the slap probably will be the day that someone says something to me.
Well, hopefully that situation doesn't arise. But Sonny, I did see a tweet you kind of put out the other day which kind of suggests that you're struggling to kind of get fights that you want.
Definitely. What's frustrating, well, not really frustrating, I'm number 4 with WBO. That title became vacant when a good champion in Tanaka moved up weight. So I put my hat straight into the ring, and MTK, Frank Warren, they tried making it. To the best of my knowledge, the fight got offered to number 1. He said yes. Actually, the title got offered to number 1. The number 2 got offered it. He said no, Acosta. And then we was waiting on the number 3, and number 3 has taken it, Nakatani. So that fight got made. Fair enough. That's gone now for the time being. Still something that's in my more short-term goals now. Because as I said, I'm number 4. The number 1, number 2, what someone will get cleared up so that there's going to be a bit of movement. But I've spent so long trying and working towards this British title shot, won it, and now I want to defend it. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to give that belt back. I want to defend it 3 times as quick as possible until there's something at world or European level for me. And I knew this was going to be the case. It's going to be quite hard, but this is a big show. Great opportunities on BT Sport in this country, ESPN over in America. You've got Frank Warren, MTK, Top Rank, all involved. So I thought, this is going to be a good platform to get someone. Do you know what I mean? So we're trying, and the fight's been offered to numerous British opponents.
Can you give us any names?
Well, the most, I think, realistic one, and maybe likely one at this stage still, even though he said no, is Joe Mafosa. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, Joe Mafosa has been screaming that he wants to step up, he wants a chance. Like, because I took my risks, early. I think my 6th fight was scheduled for 10-rounder. Okay, it wasn't the hardest fight in Ross Murray, and I beat him in 4. Then, I think my 8th fight, I boxed Ryan Farag, who'd had triple my fights. Was a former European champion at the weight above, boxed for the British. And I fought him having never gone over 6 rounds in a professional ring, or any ring for that matter. I took those risks, and a lot of people was backing me to win that fight, but a lot of people was like, oh, this could be really too soon for him, do you know what I mean? Because the quality that he's mixed at compared to me. But I took them risks, and now from that, I've been a regular on the BT platform. Even when I've been chasing bigger fights and wanting domestic fights, most of my fights come against, Mexicans, the Portuguese lad, just because no one is too willing to get in. Finally got Marcel, won, on a very subpar performance. I'll be the first one to admit it. I don't want to make excuses. There's reasons why I probably shouldn't have been in that ring. I mean, everyone saw my hands after, and I can assure you they were like that before. I didn't spar for 3 weeks before. I didn't really punch anything for 3 weeks before. But after waiting all that time to get that British title, I weren't letting what I knew winnable, even at 20-30%, I weren't letting that slide. We got in. Obviously, I got dropped. It was a subpar performance. I'll be the first one to admit it. It was one of my weaker performances that I've had. Also, credit to Marcel and his team. He came in and did a hell of a job. But still, it wasn't nowhere near enough. So then I was expecting, now I've got the British title. People are getting good purses to pay me. I know what Marcel got paid, and it was very good. You know what I mean? There's middleweights fighting on TV, not getting paid the same. And I know that for a fact. Middleweights, light heavyweight. And so I thought, do you know what? Now we're going to have it. Waiting for people to call my name, it never happened. And now I've got a fight date now, because I had that little layoff because of my hand. So now I thought, I've got to make some noise. I've got to try and sort of draw someone out here. And to the best of my knowledge, Harvey Horn was fighting Joe Mafosa, both for Frank Warren, and the winner was getting pushed to me. That's what I was told by basically, the office, Frank Warren office, and they would make that for February, and then they have me next. I was like, cool, but because obviously I'm going to give an opportunity, I'm playing a game here, you know what I mean, I got to get paid well for that. But anyway, by all of that, Harvey Horn has now pulled out of that fight. He's completely left Frank Warren. So Joe Mafosa, let's go. Fuck it. Let me have some championship rounds first. You box all around the world for WSB. You had so many amateur careers. I fought you before and sparred hundreds of rounds with you. Like, you're a fit kid, always in good shape. Do you know what I mean? Like, get in there. Like, that's what I did. You have to take these opportunities, because if they don't take these opportunities now, I can promise you, when my name and profile keeps rising, then I'm not going to give the opportunities back, because I don't really need them now, but I just want to win that British outright. I could easily just be like, okay, I've won the British now, vacate it, go buy a replica and put that in my thing. Do you know what I mean? But that's not what I want to do. I want to get into the fights that people get interested in. And obviously, I was also called out by Kezi Kademi, double European champion, but then he had hand problems and said that after his last fight, he weren't ready for me nowhere near yet. So that's respectable, that's fair enough. But I know Joe Mafosa is getting the offer made to him. The only person that really wants to fight me again is Marcel. And of course he does, he got paid well. And really, losing against me the same way or worse, it's not really going to damage him all too much. Do you know what I mean? It didn't the first time. His stock rose, if anything. So it's frustrating for sure, but like I said, on the 2nd of May, I just want to fight for a British, or defend my British, because that is the most meaningful title in my trophy cabinet, and it will mean a hell of a lot to me to actually own that forever and be able to give it to my son. And that's a good piece of history. And the last champion before me was my brother. I mean, like, for me, that means more than it would for like anyone to really understand that. Do you know what I mean? It's got our names next to each other on it. So I want that title. I just don't want the British in general. I want that version of it. At this time, I want it outright. But I need three defences. And my ideal plan was, get like a Joe Mafosa or Kezi Kademi or one of these opponents, a Tommy Frank, but obviously he doesn't want to know. One of these opponents, or someone that's maybe a flyweight coming up or a bantamweight coming down, that can fight for it. Then that would be my voluntary cleared up. Then I think Marcel would probably be my mandatory anyway, because I know he's going to keep getting put into the board and no one else really is getting put in. Clear that up and then have another voluntary and then win it outright. Like, that's the plan in your head, but it's hard work trying to get these fighters in the ring. It's so hard, and it's not even like they're getting paid peanuts now. For what I know my opponent in my last fight got paid. from what he was getting paid, and for like super flyweights, you know what I mean? It's like, it's good money, man. Like, and everyone that I've told is shocked that they got that much. Because when we was negotiating, I was getting the same money for that fight than I was for a 10-round international pick'em opponent. But I said, look, don't worry about any more money for me. Just get this opponent, get this title over the line. Because I feel like I'm quite an easy person to work with. I just want to fight. Win, lose or draw, I don't really care. Because I believe in myself to a certain point that I think, you know what I mean? I'll give anyone a really hard time. And if someone beats me and beats me fairly, then they must be a good fighter to have done so. And that's all I want. I mean, just quickly go away from me. On this card, like I saw yesterday, Troy Williamson and Stephen Donnelly got made. Wow, what a fight. And maybe Stephen Donnelly needed the opportunity a bit more than Troy did, but like Troy took it. You know, it's a hard fight for both of them. On a great platform. And then away from that even further, you know, Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthur, that fight. Literally, there's all British fights up and down the country going on that are great and people are getting excited for. That don't have to be world level. Like, they're good fights, take them for what they are. But we as fighters, I think we owe more of a obligation to actually take these fights. And I feel that's the most frustrating thing, because in professional boxing, you cannot force anyone into the ring with you. And if someone doesn't want to fight you there's always another excuse as to why that fight doesn't happen. And I think it's just cowardice to me. Like, anytime I've mentioned a name, I'm ready to have that fight. I want people to be calling me out, because really that makes it easier to negotiate, and you can squeeze a little bit more like juice. Do you know what I mean? It's just frustrating, and people keep saying that they'll be going on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube being negative, like, oh well, Frank's not getting into big fights. Frank's trying. Like, what more do you want him to do? You can't like drag someone by their scruff of the neck and chuck them into the ring. Like I know the negotiation that goes on, and I'm in a very good place. So if these cowards want to keep on and avoiding me and fighting each other, and then they can do that, but it's not really going to slow me down too much, because the big fights and the big nights are there for me. But just ideally, I want to do that traditional route. You know, winning a British title is a huge thing, but it's not something that I need to do for my legacy, really. Like, if I'm as good as I perhaps think I am, and my team think I am, then I'll be getting those world title winners. But I feel like at this stage in your career, it's a good thing to fight for these proper titles. And I don't mean that in disrespect to any of the other titles I got, but that winning that British meant something completely different to winning all the others. Do you know what I mean? Because it's something that I can remember when I was like a 10, 11-year-old kid going to boxing shows up and down the country, and there was like a British champion that I can't even remember who it was or their name or what weight they was, but I can still remember seeing a British title. Like, do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's my little rant. That's my little rant.
I genuinely forgot what the question was, Sonny. But no, I was kind of hear what you're saying, and you make some interesting points there in regards, because a lot of this stuff, I mean, people don't really kind of get to see what goes on behind the scenes. It's like they see an end product of a fight, or maybe if someone makes a comment that a fight was turned down, but we don't really kind of hear a lot of this stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it will come. Be patient, it will come.
People are too uptight about, you know, risking it or losing, for me personally. I could name so many fighters, but just off the top of my head right now, of recent ones, look at someone like Jay Harris, who coming off the back of a loss has never been rated higher than he has today. Anthony Yard, the exact same. Really. That 8th or 9th round against Kovalev built him in a certain place which is so much higher than he really was. Yeah, he was ironing people out and he was looking good doing it, but that's actually cemented something. Jay Harris, the same. Like, you can fall short, but as long as you give the best, it's an honest sport, do you know what I mean? And the most dishonest part of it is avoiding fights and keeping your sale from getting exposed. If you're as good as you think you are, then you'll never get exposed. You know what I mean? It's an honest sport. A boxing fight is the most honest conversation two men can have. And it doesn't matter that you fall short on the day, because look at all the dips and the rise of people's careers. You have people like Umar, Sadiq, Zach Chelly and Cody Davies. They've beaten each other in like a little love triangle. Do you know what I mean? Everyone would have said, oh, Cody was going to beat him. But like, none of them were in a particularly bad place because of that. But they've had fights that people have tuned in and watched, enjoyed, and they built fans, and they're building a profile off that. And it's just these fighters kidding themselves, who want to call themselves boxers, and they don't want to be like realistic with it. Like, look at when all these fighters were amateurs, though, they would fight anyone, and you wouldn't think about it. You'd fight anyone, you'd get in a championship, you didn't have a choice, and you'd fight anyone, you weren't even getting paid then. So you add money to it, and all of a sudden you don't want to fight him because he's too big. I've heard nonsense that someone didn't take a fight the other day because, oh, they're a bit rough and they might open up my cut. Like, what the fuck is going on in like British boxing? It's crazy. Like, I'm speechless at times. Like, imagine that. Oh yeah, that style might not. Oh, he's got a cut. Or, do you know what? He's a bit too tall. Or, oh, come on, man. Like, it actually proper like fumes me. Like, it touches the nerve more than pretty much anything else because they can still get away with it. And then eventually there's a time when they don't get away with it, and then they're feeling sorry for themselves, looking at all the fighters that have taken the risks and taken the opportunities, and then they're wondering, why are they on that TV bill? Why are they getting shown on TV? I'm better than them. Oh, but you didn't want to fight anyone of that caliber. And I've seen it time and time again. I've only been a pro for 3 years, and I've seen it hundreds of times already. Maybe a bit longer because Charlie was obviously a pro for a couple of years before, but man, it's ridiculous. Like you look at Yafai, great fighter, world champion. Had a kind of underwhelming reign as a world champion, I think that's fair to say. But he did what he had to do up to that point. But, always, everyone constantly saying, Charlie don't offer him nothing, But then, obviously, when he did finally step up, it got shown. But at the end of the day, it was by someone that could be considered as a generational fighter. Well, he is a generational fighter, let's be real. Roman Gonzalez, an absolute great fighter. And one thing I did say before is that one thing he's definitely still got in him is a scrap. And I think Yafai tried proving it too much. But now I'd like to see Yafai go and have some proper meaningful fights. Like, because if you look, he won the world title against someone vacant, which can't really be helped. You're not ever going to turn it down. Had it defended against no one I'd ever heard of. And then finally stepped up and got put down. Which is no disgrace because he dared to risk it all. But we want to see these fights on the way up, man. You don't have to be aligned to a world title. Like, a big fight can happen, say, with me and Jay Harris next after this one. And it could be for no particular like it could be for my British title. Do you know what I mean? Why does these good fights? They don't need titles aligned to them to be a good fight. Like, they don't. Like, and it's just I'm just getting frustrated at myself now. I'm going around in circles.
All right. Well, listen. I'm genuinely frightened to ask you another question because I've got a flight at 8 o'clock tonight. So, but no, listen. I'm joking. It was I'm hearing your frustrations, but hopefully, like I said, you get obviously sorted out for a defence of your belts on May the 2nd, and but I'm hearing you.
If not, I'm going to appeal to the British board to just keep it outright because this is a joke.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, Sonny, thank you very much for your time. I think the press conference is, I don't know if it's got a bigger night. I don't even know if Taylor's here, but appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll catch up with you ahead of your next day of May the 2nd.
Oh, thank you, Kugan. Thank you.
I was going to give you the mic and just let you talk to the camera if you want to just do that. Cheers, mate.